Today we are talking about elite choices in the New Blood Angels Codex, of which there are many. I've said in the past that I like to think of the Blood Angels as sort of an elite-centric Space Marine chapter, not so much in the sense that they're better than other chapters, but that a lot of their flavor units feel like they belong in the elite slot, I suppose, than other chapters do. That wasn't quite the case with the old Codex because they were all kind of spread out between troops and elite and fast attack. Now they are very soundly centered in elite. Those options, before I get into it, are the Command Squad, Death Company, Lamartez, who is a special chaplain, Sanguinary Guard, the Dreadnought, the Death Company Dreadnought, the Furioso Dreadnought, Terminators, Assault Terminators, Vanguard Veterans, and Stern Guard Veterans. So there's quite a few of them. Starting with the Command Squad, these guys are very much like the regular Space Marine Command Squad. One big difference, they're limited to 5 people, but they have some kind of crazy things in those 5 people. They naturally have a formation of 3 regular veterans, a company champion, and a sanguinary novitiate. And the sanguinary novitiate is essentially an apothecary, and the company champion comes with a free power sword and a combat shield. Other than that, you have all of the options that a command squad typically has, plus a few more. So the entire squad can take jump packs. They can carry the company standard like they usually can. They can take storm shields like they usually can. They can replace any of their weapons with any of the ranged weapons, melee weapons, or special weapons, which is very cool. But like I said, they're limited to 5 people, so it's definitely going to be a very expensive but effective squad if you can bring them to bear. One cool thing about them is that the company champion, who has the free power sword and combat shield, must issue or accept a challenge whenever possible. So you can stick an HQ unit or a Lord of War in there, and he can accept all the challenges, and then your big guy can just, beat the crap out of the entire squad you're fighting. Well, that dude fights and most likely dies to whoever issued a challenge to a command squad in the first place. So command squad, definitely going to be a fun squad to use. Not necessarily points effective, but very fun. Moving on to the Death Company, who is probably going to be the VIP in this slot for all the reasons that they were popular in the past. They are no cheaper than they were. And you have no limit to the number of squads that you can field other than the fact that, they take up an elite slot. Thankfully, the Blood Angels force organization charts and formations allow you to field them in very high numbers if you so choose. Squad size is capped at 15 now instead of 30, which feels a lot more reasonable than before, although I don't know if I ever saw anybody field a 30-person Death Company. Or ever heard of it. That sounds incredibly expensive and ridiculous. Big thing about the Death Company, they're largely exactly the same as they were before. Their weapon skill is 1 lower, so it's 4, which makes perfect sense. Big things, though, is that they have the +1 initiative if you use them in one of the Blood Angels formations, or one of the Blood Angels force organization charts. Another big thing is that they are scoring units now instead of not being scoring units. So this makes them really, just all around better than they were before. Especially when you take into consideration that they no longer pay 3/4 of their model cost for a jump pack. It's been reduced to 3 points down from 15, so definitely doesn't feel bad to field them with a jump pack anymore. This is going to be a big deal if you're playing as Flesh Terrors and you are using the formation that gives them the crazy, pseudo rampage rule, or if you use any of the other formations from Deathstorm, Exterminatus, which I'll probably be doing a video on next week, because there are some crazy cool rules in there. Largely, these guys are the exact same as they were, just you can use them a lot better now, which is incredibly exciting. Lamartez is still kind of the weird, super-powered chaplain that he was before. He costs roughly the same points and plays almost roughly the exact same way. The big difference is that he does not give Death Company the rerolling to wound on a charge. Like I said before, only Asterath the Grim can do that now. So he is less appealing than he was. I don't really see why you would take him over a regular chaplain, other than he has the feel no pain. But honestly, you can use the Death Company to soak blows for the chaplain in most cases anyway. Even so, he's a good character. Just don't know if he's the best choice to field. So he's kind of exactly the same way he was before. He just shifted from troops to elites. Sanguinary Guard. They are way better than they were before. I still cannot think of a place where I would want to field them, especially now that the Death Company are competing with them for slots. They are 35 points cheaper than they were before. It's way cheaper to take death masks with them. The company banner or the chapter banner is cheaper. Their options are all the exact same cost. So where this puts them is a more expensive and more limited Death Company. They have Fearless, just like the Death Company do, but they have fewer attacks. They don't have Feel No Pain. They don't have the Relentless, which really makes no difference for the Sanguinary Guard, but it gives you more options with how you equip the Death Company. The big spot where I could see using the Sanguinary Guard is if you're using Commander Dante and you stick a Sanguinary Priest in that squad and have them go in and use Dante's hit and run to just kind of jump in and out of combat, just laying down Infernus pistol fire or Angelus bolt gun fire on squads, and then sending these guys in to just clean them up. Hopefully leaving one or two guys left and then disengaging after their turn goes so that you can do it again. But generally speaking, these guys feel like they're just going to be outdone in most cases when compared to the Death Company. They can be fielded in squads of 10 now, but like I said, they're still considerably more expensive than the Death Company are, and they're going to perform a very, very similar role. And once again, sadly, they have possibly the coolest models for Space Marines in the game, so real bummer, at least from my perspective. The Dreadnought is a Dreadnought. When the leaks started showing up, people were just kind of questioning what the deal was with the multi-melta. That has, since at least 5th edition, it probably was even in 3rd edition, been the default weapon for the Blood Angels Dreadnought. The big thing here is it shifted from heavy support to elite. And other than that, it is largely the same. It's slightly cheaper. It has Furious Charge now instead of not having Furious Charge, so there's that. But largely, not much reason to take the Dreadnought if you didn't field it before. The Death Company Dreadnought does not require 5 Death Company to field anymore, so you can field them just by themselves, which is really nice. They still have None Can Stay My Wrath, which allows them to ignore Crew Shaken and Crew Stun completely. They still lose the hull point, obviously, but they ignore the disabling effects. It has Furious Charge now in addition to the Rage it had before. The Furious Charge is kind of a bizarre addition, considering no matter how you equip a Death Company Dreadnought, its strength is going to be doubled anyway, and at a base strength of 6, that's just going to leave it at 10. So still, it's nice to see that the Death Company Dreadnought pilot is still as angry as the rest of the Blood Angels are. The big difference with the Death Company Dreadnought, aside from the shift from troops to elite and the removal of the Death Company squad requirement, is that the Blood Talons upgrade is now a 10-point purchase and no longer gives you the Dreadnought Blender special rule. It is going to give you Shred, and it will not have the unwieldy thing going on. But by and large, the Death Company Dreadnoughts attacks are severely lower than they were likely to be against an infantry squad before. On the plus side, it's going to be AP2 no matter what, so it's just kind of getting a redirection in what you want to charge with it. Like before, if you're going to be taking a Death Company Dreadnought or a Furiosa Dreadnought, you probably want to take it in a drop pod, just so that you can deliver it right up into your enemy's face and reliably, and give them a little cover so that they have a turn to either almost die and survive and then attack, or just hide completely before moving out and then doing their deal. The Furiosa Dreadnought is once again pretty much identical to the way it was before. It still has the higher weapon skill and the higher front armor, and it still has the exact same options it had before, with the exception that the Librarian Dreadnought is now HQ, is no longer an upgrade for the Furioso. And once again, the Blood Talons are a 10-point upgrade instead of being free, and no longer give you the Blender attack. Once again, has Furious Charge for some reason that appears to just be there for consistency. The Magna Grapple, which I suppose I could have mentioned with the Death Company Dreadnought as well, has changed substantially. This was first revealed when Death Storm came out. The big thing here is that the grapple used to be a Strength 8 AP1 attack that had a range of 12 that the Dreadnought could use against a vehicle, and then could, unlikely but possibly, reel the vehicle into the Dreadnought's close combat range, at which point it could then punch the crap out of it. The Magna Grapple no longer does that, and is in fact a replacement for smoke launchers now. It basically allows you to re-roll your charge distance against vehicles and gives you move through cover. Once again, you're going to want to take a drop pod. If you're not taking a drop pod, you probably want to take a Storm Raven. And the Furioso is oddly more effective in most cases with the frag cannon than it is with the double power fists. Frag cannon, if you are unaware, is a template Strength 6 Assault 2 rending shot. So high carnage possibilities with that weapon, and then being able to charge and then swing 2 or 3 times with your Power Fist or Talon. Definitely an appealing thing. Terminators. They are Terminators, which has sadly become code for disappointment, at least for me. There are a couple formations in the Exterminatus that make them way more appealing, although I still don't know if I would field them, but I will probably talk about that next week. Same thing goes with Assault Terminators, although they have some awesome looking new models for Blood Angels. Definitely would not likely take them unless they were in one of the formations in Exterminatus. The durability just is not high enough to really justify their point cost, at least not at 1 wound. Vanguard Veterans make me sad. I was initially concerned with the reason you would field the assault squads with Vanguard Veterans in the fast attack slot. Now they are in Elite, and they are competing with Sanguinary Guard and with Death Company for their job. The Vanguard Veterans give you the most flexibility as far as equipment goes, and they completely disregard the disordered charges, just like regular Space Marine Vanguard Veterans do. And they're cheaper marginally than the Death Company, however, and dramatically cheaper than the Sanguinary Guard. But they just, I suppose, don't really... I don't really see any reason to field them instead of the Death Company. Once again, the Death Company are just... They have so many useful special rules that help them do their job better than the Vanguard Veterans do, and than the Sanguinary Guard do in most circumstances. So, unfortunate for them. While it was expected, it is still a little sad that they lost their charging out after Deep Strike rule. However, some of the formations make them far more like, the old Vanguard veterans for the Blood Angels. And then finally, Stern Guard veterans. As before, they're Stern Guard. They are awesome. They're a bit more expensive than the Vanguard veterans. They're a bit more expensive than most things are going to be, but they are just good, reliable elite choices. That's all there is to it. They have the same options as the regular Space Marine Stern Guard do, with the addition of the Infernus pistol and the Hand Flamer, which you can take in pretty good numbers in most squads for the Blood Angels anyway, so that doesn't really make them special. The big thing with them, as with all Stern Guard, is the special ammo. So that's it for the elite slots. I suppose the TLDR here would be Death Company are awesome just like before, and now they're competing with a bunch of other guys that are not quite as awesome. Dreadnoughts are kind of in the same spot as Terminators, and Sanguinary Guard, though better, not quite as awesome as Death Company are, which is unfortunate when they're competing for slots. That's it for this week. If you've got any questions or any comments you'd like to leave, please put them below. Next week is going to be talking about some of the formations that I find really appealing from the Exterminatus book. Until then, happy wargaming.